Money doesn't talk in Natalie Bennett's world, it commands. At 32, she has weaponized her father's empire into something sharper, colder, more efficient than the old general ever imagined.
The projections are clear. We must act now.
I agree. The data supports this.
Exactly. We need consensus.
Understood. Let's proceed.
Temperature locked at 68 degrees a setting, Natalie finds conducive to keeping people awake and slightly on edge. Below Central Park sprawls green and irrelevant. Up here, only numbers matter. The acquisition of Summit Tech is stalled. Gerald Hutchins, the vice president whose cologne always arrives 3 seconds before he does drones through the morning briefing. The tech firm in Boston is holding out for a better valuation, he explains, tugging at his tie like a noose might be more comfortable. Natalie doesn't look up from her tablet. Cut the offer by 15%. They're bleeding cash. They'll sign by Friday. Gerald stammers. That's aggressive, Natalie. We might lose the deal entirely. She stands smoothing the charcoal Armani suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. It's business, Gerald, not therapy. Meeting adjourned. Half of you are breathing too loudly anyway. The room empties fast. Her heels click a rhythmic warning against the marble as she strides toward her corner office, Isabella matching pace with a triple-shot espresso already extended. Your father is on line 1, Miss Bennett. Again. Natalie stops mid-stride, exhaling through her nose. Tell him I'm in a tunnel. Tell him I'm dead. I don't care. Isabella's voice drops to a whisper. He says it's about the arrangement for tonight. The espresso tastes like burnt obligation as Natalie snatches the phone. Father, I thought we discussed this. I don't do blind dates. I buy companies. I don't merge with strangers. General Thomas Bennett's voice carries the gravel and steel of a man who commanded thousands but struggles to command his only daughter. Natalie, you promised. 1 dinner. That's all I ask. You've spent 5 years turning yourself into a machine. You need perspective. I have perspective. From the penthouse, the view is excellent. This isn't about the view. The general's tone shifts something raw beneath the authority. It's about character. Mrs. Caldwell swears by this man. She says he has integrity, a word you might want to look up. Integrity doesn't pay for private jets, Dad. The silence stretches long enough that Natalie almost thinks he's hung up. Then, just go. For me. Please, if you hate him, leave. But give him 1 hour. 7 o'clock at Bellecourt. His name is Marcus. Marcus. Natalie tests the name like stale bread. Sounds like a carpenter. He's a good man. That's enough. The line goes dead. Natalie stares at her reflection in the darkened window, a woman who has everything and the hollowness her father constantly pokes at. She hates when he's right. The memory surfaces unbidden her father in the hospital 5 years ago. Shrapnel scars still angry and red telling her about the soldier who pulled him from a burning Humvee in some God-forsaken desert. A man with integrity, he'd said then, too. She'd been too busy negotiating her first hostile takeover to listen. Isabella hovers in the doorway. Shall I confirm Bellecourt? Natalie nods once. Best table. If I'm going to be bored, I'm going to be bored with expensive wine. And cancel my 7 o'clock with Silicon Valley Ventures. She decides then she'll go be polite enough not to embarrass her father dissect this. Marcus, with surgical precision, expose whatever flaw everyone has, and go home to her silence and her millions. Just another transaction. Bellecourt is the kind of restaurant where menus don't list prices and the water comes from a specific Icelandic glacier. Natalie arrives at 7:15, fashionably late, is a power play she's perfected. The red Valentino dress cost $11,500 and screams authority in a frequency only other predators can hear. Henri, the maitre d', who terrifies most patrons, practically bows. Miss Bennett, always an honor. Your table is ready. The gentleman is already waiting. Something in Henri's tone makes Natalie's instincts sharpen. He hesitates, which Henri never does. Is there a problem, Henri? No, merely he is not the usual clientele we see with you, Miss Bennett. Natalie smirks. Lead on. They weave through the dimly lit dining room past senators and tech moguls, past old money and new money and money so old it's forgotten where it came from. Natalie holds her head high, expecting some Wall Street shark or trust fund artist her father dug up. Henri stops at a corner table. The man sitting there looks like he stumbled out of the wrong movie. The suit is ill-fitting shoulders, too tight fabric, a cheap polyester blend that catches the light wrong. His tie sits crooked. Dark hair needs a trim. Eyes look incredibly tired, carrying weight that has nothing to do with the hour. But the real shock isn't the man. It's what sits beside him. A child. A little girl, maybe 7 years old, messy pigtails, and a pink t-shirt with a stain that clashes violently with Bellecourt's gold leaf decor. She's coloring on the linen tablecloth with a blue crayon tongue stuck out in concentration. Natalie stops dead. Laughter bubbles up her throat, not joyful but the incredulous kind reserved for witnessing train wrecks. "You have got to be kidding me." The man stands as she approaches, knee slamming into the table. Silverware rattles. Hi. You must be Natalie. I'm Marcus Cole." He extends a hand. Knuckles rough and calloused grease under one fingernail despite obvious scrubbing. Natalie doesn't take it. She looks at him, then down at the child, then back. There seems to be a mistake. "I was told I was meeting a date, not interviewing a babysitter." Marcus's face flushes crimson. He pulls his hand back. "I am so sorry. The sitter canceled last minute. I didn't have anyone else to call and I didn't want to stand you up. This is Emma." The little girl looks up, clutching the blue crayon. "Hi, I'm drawing a dinosaur." Natalie ignores the child completely. She sits not to stay, but to savor the absurdity. "You brought a child to Bellecourt. Do you know there's a 3-month waiting list for this table? I didn't know that." Marcus sits back down, tugging at his collar. "Look, I know this isn't ideal, but Mrs. Caldwell spoke so highly of you. She said you were kind." The laugh that escapes Natalie is short and sharp, echoing in the quiet restaurant. Heads turn. Kind Mrs. Caldwell is a romantic fool. "I am efficient, Marcus." "And this," she gestures vaguely at his suit and daughter. "This is inefficient. I'm just a guy trying to make it work." Marcus's voice steadies something firming beneath the embarrassment. "I work at a mechanic shop in Queens. I wanted to take you somewhere nice, show you some respect. Respect would be wearing a suit that doesn't look like it came from a donation bin." Natalie's voice drips ice. Marcus flinches. It's a small movement, but Natalie sees it, catalogs it, enjoys it like finding the weak point in a contract negotiation. And respect, she leans in, would be knowing that a woman of my stature does not dine with baggage. She glances at Emma. The little girl seems to sense the hostility, shrinking back against her father. "Daddy, is the lady mad?" Marcus puts a protective arm around his daughter. His eyes, previously tired and soft, suddenly harden to flint. "It's okay, Bug. Just keep coloring." He looks at Natalie. "You can insult my suit. You can insult my bank account. But don't you dare talk about my daughter like she's luggage. She's the best thing in my life." "Then your life must be very small." Natalie signals for the waiter. "I'm not staying. I just wanted to see what my father thought was good enough for me." Clearly his judgment is failing. She stands, smoothing her dress. "Enjoy your water, Marcus. I've already paid Henri to sanitize the table after you leave. It's cruel, unnecessary." But Natalie feels a twisted need to create distance from this display of raw, unfiltered humanity. It makes her uncomfortable in ways her therapist would have a field day with if she still saw therapists. Marcus doesn't yell, doesn't make a scene. He just looks at her with an expression she can't quite place. Not anger. Something worse, pity. "You have a lot of money, Natalie, but you're the poorest person I've ever met." The words land like a slap. Natalie laughs again, loud and harsh, but something in her chest constricts. "Save the philosophy for the garage mechanic. It won't pay the rent." She turns on her heel and walks out. She can feel eyes following her, admiring her, fearing her, envying her. She feels powerful. The cool night air hits her face as she exits through the heavy oak doors. Her phone is out before the valet brings her Bentley around. Well, her father answers on the first ring. "A disaster." Natalie laughs into the phone. "He brought a kid, Dad. A kid. And he looked like he washes cars for a living." I walked out. "Honestly, you owe me a trip to Paris for enduring 5 minutes of that." He brought his daughter. The general's voice carries an odd note. Yes. Pathetic. Anyway, I'm going to the club. I need to be around people who actually matter. She hangs up, tossing the phone into her purse. Triumph tastes like the champagne she'll order in 20 minutes. She's dodged a bullet. Her father will get over it. Everything will return to the comfortable numbness of board meetings and acquisitions and nights alone in her penthouse where nobody can disappoint her. As the Bentley pulls away from Bellacourt, Natalie doesn't see Marcus walking out behind her, holding Emma's hand, head held high despite the humiliation. She doesn't see him pull a small, worn photograph from his pocket, a picture of a platoon in desert camouflage, and stare at it for a long moment before tucking it away. And she certainly doesn't know that tomorrow morning her father, General Bennett, will be waiting in her office. And he won't be alone. The morning sun hits Bennett Industries' glass facade like a laser, but inside the atmosphere is frozen. Natalie strides into the lobby at 8 o'clock, sharp heels clicking dominance in Morse code. She's already fired a marketing VP via email during the ride over. The woman had used Comic Sans in a client presentation, which is basically corporate suicide and feels particularly invincible. The receptionist chirps a terrified good morning. Coffee black now. Natalie doesn't stop walking. The executive floor should be its usual hush of fear. Instead, she finds chaos. Isabella paces outside Natalie's office, pale as printer paper. Ms. Bennett. Thank God. I tried to text you, but what, Isabella? Did the stock dip? Did Silicon Valley Ventures walk? No, ma'am. Isabella's voice drops. It's your father. He's inside. And he's called an emergency board meeting. Natalie freezes mid-stride. Her father hasn't called a board meeting in 3 years. He's chairman emeritus, a title that means he's supposed to play golf and let her run the world. She pushes past Isabella and throws open the double mahogany doors. The room is full. Every single member of the board of directors sits around the long obsidian table, and at the head, her seat sits General Thomas Bennett. He's wearing his full-dress uniform, something he hasn't worn since his retirement ceremony. The medals on his chest gleam under fluorescent lights like accusations. But it's the man sitting to his right that makes Natalie's blood turn to ice. Marcus Cole. He's not wearing the cheap suit this time. He's in a grease-gray t-shirt and work boots, looking like he was dragged straight from under a car. He looks uncomfortable, large hands gripping the Italian leather chair's armrests as if expecting ejection at any moment. Father. Natalie's voice comes out tight. What is the meaning of this? And why is the help sitting at the board table? The room goes dead silent. Gerald Hutchins adjusts his glasses nervously. General Bennett stands. His eyes, usually warm when looking at his daughter, are cold and hard. The eyes of the man who led the 1st Armored Division into combat zones. Sit down, Natalie. I will not. This is my company. You gave me control. I gave you operational control. The general's voice booms, commanding. But I retain the moral authority, something you seem to have bankrupted. Natalie slams her briefcase onto the table. Is this about dinner? Are you seriously staging a corporate coup because I didn't want to eat pasta with a mechanic who brings a toddler to a 5-star restaurant? Marcus looks down at his boots, jaw clenching. The general's expression doesn't change. This is not about dinner. It's about the Bennett legacy. We build the future, that's our motto. But last night I realized you've forgotten who builds that future. It isn't the people in this room. It's the people who fix the engines, who pave the roads, who fight the wars that keep your oil prices stable. He gestures to Marcus. Mr. Cole is not here as your date. He is here as a consultant. Natalie lets out a harsh, incredulous laugh. Consultant. For what? Our janitorial staff, for the Project Sentinel contract. Natalie stops laughing. Project Sentinel is the massive $1.8 billion government defense contract Bennett Industries is bidding on. It involves designing next-generation all-terrain armored personnel carriers for the military. It's the deal that would secure the company's future for the next decade. Mr. Cole runs a shop in Queens that specializes in retrofitting surplus military vehicles for civilian use. The general's tone brooks no argument. He knows more about how these machines fail in desert heat than any of our Ivy League engineers. This is a joke. Natalie spits the words. He's a grease monkey. He is the new lead consultant for the prototype phase. The general crosses his arms. And you, Natalie, will be his project manager. The room spins. I am the CEO. I don't manage prototypes. I manage billions, not on this project. The general's voice is granite. The board voted this morning. You want the Sentinel contract, you want your bonus this year, you work with Mr. Cole. You go to his shop. You learn the ground reality. If you refuse, Gerald has a motion ready to remove you as CEO pending a mental health sabbatical. Natalie looks at Gerald. The weasel nods apologetically. It's true, Natalie. The general was very persuasive. We all agreed this is necessary for your development. She turns her furious gaze on Marcus. He finally looks up, meeting her eyes. His are dark, intelligent, devoid of the intimidation she's used to seeing. I didn't ask for this. Marcus's voice is raspy, rough, like sandpaper on wood. Your dad showed up at my shop at 6 this morning. I told him no. He told me he'd pay off my shop's mortgage and cover Emma's tuition at Riverside Prep. Natalie's eyes narrow. Leverage. Her father bought him. Of course he did. The general never fights fair. Fine. The word hisses out between her teeth. You want me to babysit a dinosaur, I'll babysit. But mark my words, Marcus, you will quit within a week. I will make the paperwork so heavy you'll drown in it. I will make you wish you'd never accepted that dinner invitation. I already wish that. Marcus's tone is even no heat in it. Just fact. Good. Then we're on the same page. Natalie turns to her father. Is that all, General? One more thing? The general sits back down, steepling his fingers. The work happens at his shop in Queens. Our labs are too sterile. The prototype needs to be built in the real world. You report to Queens every morning at 700 hours, starting tomorrow. Dismissed. Natalie storms out of the room, vibrating with rage. She doesn't see the look her father exchanges with Marcus, a look of deep, silent understanding, something old and heavy passing between them. She doesn't see Marcus give a slight, almost imperceptible nod to the general before grabbing his cap and following her out. She only sees red. She's going to destroy Marcus Cole. She's going to crush his little shop, humiliate him professionally, prove to her father that you can't mix diamonds with dust. By the time she's done, Marcus will be begging to go back to changing oil in obscurity. Queens smells like exhaust fumes and yesterday's coffee. Natalie's Bentley Continental sleek black, worth more than the entire block, looks like a spaceship landed in a junkyard as it pulls up to Cole's Auto and Fabrication. The shop is a converted warehouse with corrugated metal siding that's rusted to burnt orange. A faded sign hangs crooked over the bay doors. Tires stack in towers. The high-pitched whine of a pneumatic drill fills the air. Natalie steps out wearing a white Chanel pantsuit. It's a calculated insult. She's daring the environment to touch her, daring Marcus to comment, daring the universe to acknowledge that Natalie Bennett does not belong in Queens. She checks her watch. 7:05. She's 5 minutes late. She doesn't care. The open bay door swallows her. The noise is deafening, classic rock blasting from a boombox, metal on metal, men shouting over the din. 3 workers huddle around the engine block of a massive, battered Humvee. Where is he? Natalie shouts over the music. One of the men, burly with a beard like steel wool, looks up. He wipes his hands on a rag, appraising her from head to toe. Hey, turn it down. The music dies. The man looks Natalie up and down. You must be the princess. Caleb's in the pit. I am Miss Bennett. She corrects him coldly. And tell him I'm here. I know he's here. A voice comes from the ground. Natalie looks down. A pair of legs sticks out from under a Ford F250 boots, pointing skyward. Marcus slides out on a creeper, face smeared with grease. He stands wiping his forehead with the back of his arm, leaving a dark streak. He's wearing a tank top today, and Natalie is annoyed to notice he's incredibly fit, not gym-sculpted but work-hardened, muscles cored under his skin like steel cables. You're late. Traffic. The lie comes smooth. Let's get this over with. Where's the prototype? I need to inspect the specs and sign off on liability waivers before you touch anything. We don't do waivers here. Marcus walks over to a workbench covered in blueprints held down by wrenches. And the prototype isn't here yet. Your dad sent over the chassis of the failed version from last year, the one your top engineers built. He points to a heap of twisted metal in the corner. That thing is a death trap. The suspension's too stiff. The armor plating's too heavy on the front axle. If an IED hit the rear, the whole thing would flip like a toy. I'm stripping it down, rebuilding from scratch. Natalie walks over, wrinkling her nose at the smell of oil and sweat. That design was approved by MIT graduates Marcus. I doubt a mechanic from Queens knows better than PhDs in physics. Physics works different in a textbook than it does in a sandbox. Marcus grabs a wrench, examining the failed chassis. Look, Miss Bennett, you can stand there in your white suit and judge me, or you can make yourself useful and hand me that torque wrench. I am not your assistant. No. You're the project manager. Managing the project means helping the team. Pass the wrench. Natalie stares at him. He doesn't blink. It's a standoff, and she realizes with creeping irritation that he's not going to back down. The man with the steel wool beard is watching. The other two workers have stopped to observe. She will not be humiliated in a garage in Queens, but she also won't give him the satisfaction of refusing. Natalie walks over, picks up the wrench heavier than it looks, and hands it to Marcus without a word. His fingers brush hers as he takes it. Calloused warm. Thanks. A small door to the side office opens and Emma runs out. She's wearing a backpack bigger than her torso, pink, with cartoon characters Natalie doesn't recognize. Daddy, the bus is here. Marcus's entire face transforms. The hard edges soften. He drops the wrench and kneels. Hey, Bug, you got your lunch? Yes, and I put an extra cookie in for you. Marcus smiles, genuine, full of warmth, and kisses her forehead. Thanks, sweetie. Go on. Mrs. Rodriguez is waiting outside. I'll pick you up at 3. Emma turns and sees Natalie. Her eyes go wide, recognition flooding her small face. It's the mean lady. Marcus stiffens. Emma, go to the bus. But she go. Now. Emma scurries away. Marcus stands, turning to Natalie, and his eyes are blazing with something dangerous. If you say one word to her, just one word that makes her feel less than I don't care who your father is, I will throw you out of this shop myself. Natalie feels a flicker of something unfamiliar. Shame, maybe. It's fleeting, quickly replaced by defensiveness. I have no interest in your child, Marcus. I'm here for business. Good. Then let's talk business. The morning is torture. Marcus ignores Natalie's attempts to bureaucratize the process. When she asks for a Gantt chart, he points to a whiteboard with scribbles. When she asks for a budget forecast, he hands her a stack of receipts from a scrapyard held together with a binder clip. But as the hours pass, Natalie begins to notice things. She watches how Marcus commands his crew. The big man is Big Mike, a former Marine with hands like sledgehammers, and a surprisingly gentle way with the hydraulic systems. Sal is 30, quick-witted, always with a joke, but laser-focused when the torch comes out for welding. Javier is the youngest, 22, quiet, brilliant with anything electronic. Marcus doesn't yell, doesn't threaten. He speaks in shorthand, anticipating problems before they happen. Sal, check the differential on that axle. It's going to whine at 50 miles an hour. Javi, don't weld that bracket yet. The alloy needs to cool or it'll crack under stress. He's brilliant, rough, unpolished, but brilliant. Natalie has run companies, negotiated billion-dollar deals, but she's never seen someone command a team with this kind of instinctive precision. There's no ego in it, just competence. Around noon, a black sedan pulls up outside. Natalie recognizes it immediately, the polished chrome, the tinted windows. A man in a sharp gray suit steps out and her stomach drops. Graham Pierce, CEO of Pierce Defense Systems, Bennett Industries' biggest rival for the Sentinel contract. What the hell is he doing here? Pierce walks into the shop, ignoring the grime eyes fixing on Marcus. Mr. Cole, a pleasure to finally meet the man behind the reputation. Marcus wipes his hands on a rag, looking weary. Can I help you? I hope so. Pierce smiles, oiled silk stretched over shark teeth. He glances at Natalie. Hello, Natalie. Slumming it today. Get lost, Graham. Pierce ignores her. He turns back to Marcus, reaching into his jacket. I heard Bennett has you working on the Sentinel retrofit. A waste of talent, frankly. Bennett Industries is bloated, old-fashioned, strangled by nepotism. He pulls out a check, placing it on the oily workbench. I'm prepared to offer you a buyout, Mr. Cole. Exclusive rights to your suspension patent, plus a position at Pierce Defense as VP of Engineering. Starting salary, $450,000 a year. Natalie steps forward. He's under contract, Graham. This is tortious interference. I'll have legal bury you. The contract is with Cole's Auto. Pierce counters smoothly. I'm buying the man and his brain, not the shop. Perfectly legal. Pierce leans against the workbench, casual as a viper sunbathing. I know about Emma's tuition at Riverside Prep, $28,000 a year. I can make that disappear with a signature, plus a signing bonus. He flips the check around. $2.5 million. Natalie's heart sinks. That kind of money is life-changing. Marcus is desperate. Anyone can see it in the worn boots, the shop held together with duct tape and prayer, the shadows under his eyes from working too many hours. Her father is covering some debts, but this is walk away and never touch, grease again money. She expects Marcus to grab it. Any rational asset would. She's already calculating the legal angles, how to spin this in the board meeting, which engineers she'll poach from Pierce in retaliation. Marcus looks at the check, looks at Pierce, looks at Natalie. Then he picks up the check. $2.5 million. Marcus says it softly, turning the paper over in his grease-stained fingers. Just a signing bonus. Pierce grins. Correct. The salary and benefits are separate. We can have papers drawn up by end of business today. Marcus slowly crumples the check. Methodically. Deliberately. He doesn't do it angrily, he does it the way someone might fold a napkin after a meal. Casual. Final. You know, Mr. Pierce, you rich folks think everything has a price tag. You think loyalty is something you buy at a dealership like floor mats and air fresheners. Don't be a fool, Cole. Pierce's smile vanishes. You're broke. I might be broke. Marcus steps closer and suddenly Pierce looks smaller. But I gave General Bennett my word. And where I come from, a man's word is the only thing he actually owns. Now get your vehicle off my property before Big Mike disassembles it for parts. Big Mike revs a power saw menacingly in the background, grinning. Pierce turns pale. He glares at Natalie. He's going to sink you. He's a relic and you're chaining yourself to a corpse. Pierce retreats to his car, tires squealing as he peels away. Natalie stands in the silence, stunned. She looks at Marcus, really looks at him for the first time. Why, that was $2.5 million. You could have fixed everything. Marcus goes back to the truck, picking up his wrench. Money fixes problems, Natalie. It doesn't fix people. And it doesn't buy sleep at night. I told your dad I'd finish this job. I finished the mission. The mission? Natalie's voice cracks slightly. It's a car, Marcus, not a war. Marcus freezes. His back is to her. For a second his shoulders seize up, muscles bunching tight. He takes a deep breath, lets it out slowly and turns around. His eyes are haunted, something dark and ancient passing through them. It's never just a car. The words come out barely above a whisper. It's the difference between coming home and coming home in a box. You don't get that. I hope you never do. He goes back under the truck. Conversation over. Natalie stands there, the smell of grease and ozone thick in the air. She feels small in her white suit. She realizes then that she doesn't know this man at all. Doesn't know why her father respects him. Doesn't know why he turned down a fortune. But she's going to find out. She walks over to the break room, a dingy alcove with a vending machine and a microwave that looks older than Javier. Fumbling for quarters, her eyes fall on a corkboard covered in invoices and takeout menus. Buried under a pizza flyer, there's a photograph. Natalie pulls it out. Its old edges curled and yellowed. A group of soldiers stand in front of a tank in the desert, young and dusty and smiling despite everything. In the center arm around a much younger Marcus, who's grinning wide, is a man Natalie recognizes instantly, her father. But he's not a general in the photo. He's a colonel, and he looks exhausted, haunted, holding on to Marcus like a lifeline. Then she sees it. The date scrawled on the bottom in faded ink, Operation Ghost Wind, Day 14. Natalie's breath catches. Day 14. She knows that date. Every Bennett knows that date. It's the day her father's convoy was ambushed in the Zagros Mountains. The day he was supposed to die. The day he was saved by a ghost, a soldier whose name was redacted from official reports because the mission was classified. She looks at Marcus in the photo. He's holding a marksman rifle, not smiling like the others, looking at the horizon with vigilant intensity. Natalie looks from the photo to the leg sticking out from under the truck. He's not just a mechanic. He's the ghost. She shoves the photo into her pocket as Marcus slides out again. "Hand me the 10mm socket." Natalie Bennett, billionaire CEO, kneels down on the dirty concrete floor. She doesn't care about the Chanel suit anymore. She finds the socket in the toolbox, extending it. "Here." Marcus looks at her, surprised to see her on the ground beside him. Their eyes meet. For the first time, there's no mockery in hers, only a terrified curiosity. "Thanks." He takes the socket. "Marcus." Her voice trembles slightly. "Operation Ghost Wind. Were you there?" Marcus goes still. The socket clatters to the floor. The silence in the shop is heavy, suffocating. "Who told you about that?" His voice drops to a dangerous whisper. "I just—" Before she can finish, a loud crash echoes from the front of the shop. A scream follows, high and young and terrified. "Daddy, Emma!" Marcus moves before Natalie can even blink. He vaults over the hood of the truck with the speed and precision of someone whose body remembers combat, moving with impossible grace for a man his size. Natalie scrambles up and runs after him. In the front lot, a delivery truck has backed up too fast. The driver is new, panicked, unfamiliar with the tight space. The truck's rear end has clipped the edge of the school bus that just returned to drop Emma off. She forgot her inhaler, the driver would later explain. Metal is twisted, screeching. Emma sits on the ground, clutching her knee, crying. But the real danger is the delivery truck. The driver jumped out in his panic, forgetting the parking brake. The massive vehicle is rolling backward, gaining momentum, headed straight for the little girl frozen on the asphalt. Emma. Marcus roars. He doesn't run. He sprints. It's a blur of motion instinct and training taking over. He hits Emma like a linebacker, scooping her up and diving to the side just as the truck crunches into the wall where she'd been sitting a second before. They tumble onto the asphalt, Marcus taking the brunt of the impact, his body wrapping around Emma's to shield her. Natalie screams. Silence. Then Marcus groans, sitting up, checking Emma instantly. "You okay, Bug? You okay?" "I scraped my knee." Emma sobs, but she's whole, alive, breathing. "It's okay. I got you. I got you." He stands holding her close and turns to the delivery driver, who's trembling, ashen-faced. Marcus's face is a mask of fury, but he controls it with visible effort. He takes a breath, then looks at Natalie. There's blood dripping from a cut on his forehead, running down his face, mixing with the grease and sweat. "Meeting's over, Ms. Bennett. I have to take my daughter to the doctor." He limps toward his beat-up sedan, Emma crying against his shoulder. Natalie stands there shaking. She looks at the blood on the asphalt, the dent in the wall, the truck that would have crushed a 7-year-old girl if not for reflexes honed in war zones. She pulls her phone out with trembling hands. "Father," she says when the general answers. "What is it? You sound—" "I know who he is." The words choke out. "I know who Marcus is." Long silence on the other end. "Then you know that you are in the presence of a better man than I will ever be. Fix this, Natalie, or don't come back." The line goes dead. Natalie stands alone in the Queen's lot, watching Marcus's taillights disappear, the white Chanel suit covered in dust and oil she'll never be able to wash out. The waiting room of Queen's General Hospital smells like antiseptic and broken promises. Natalie sits in a hard plastic chair, still wearing the ruined Chanel suit, ignoring the stares from other patients who can smell money even when it's covered in motor oil. She followed Marcus's sedan here 40 minutes ago, watching him carry Emma through the emergency entrance like she weighed nothing, blood still dripping from his own forehead. When Marcus finally emerges from the treatment area, he looks worse. A butterfly bandage tapes over his eyebrow. He walks with a stiff limp, favoring his left side where he took the impact. Emma holds his hand, sporting a bright bandage on her knee and clutching a lollipop like a trophy. Marcus stops when he sees Natalie. Exhaustion wars with surprise across his features. "You're still here. I wanted to make sure Emma was all right." Natalie stands, feeling awkward in a way boardrooms never make her feel. "I paid the bill. The administration said it's taken care of." Marcus's jaw tightens. "I didn't ask you to do that." "I know, but you saved her life, and frankly, you shouldn't be worrying about deductibles right now." Marcus looks at her, searching for the arrogance he's used to seeing. He doesn't find it. The fight drains out of him in a long exhale. "Thank you. I'll pay you back." "Don't insult me, Marcus. Consider it a business expense keeping the lead consultant focused." For the first time, a small smile tugs at the corner of Marcus's mouth. "Right. Consultant. I spoke to my father while you were in there." Natalie's voice drops, conscious of Emma listening. "He told me about the Zagros Mountains. He told me why you don't like to be called a hero." Marcus looks away, eyes focusing on the scuffed linoleum floor. "Your father talks too much. He said you carried him 6 miles with shrapnel in your leg. He said you refused the Silver Star because you said you didn't save everyone. Why are you fixing cars in Queens, Marcus? You could be running private security firms. You could be a millionaire 10 times over with your skill set." Marcus looks at Emma, who's busy trying to unwrap her lollipop with one hand, the other still gripping her father's fingers. "Because machines make sense, Natalie. You fix them, they work. People break. And sometimes you can't put them back together. I wanted a quiet life for her." He gestures to Emma. "No guns, no salutes, just oil changes and school runs." "Well, you don't have a quiet life right now." Natalie straightens her blazer. "You have a deadline. The military trials are in 4 weeks, and if we don't get that prototype running, Graham Pierce wins. And men like Pierce don't care who comes home in a box." Marcus's expression hardens, the soldier surfacing. "Let's go. I have an idea about the transmission." They return to the shop, and for the next 5 days the dynamic shifts like tectonic plates. Natalie doesn't sit in the office. She rolls up her sleeves, literally, not metaphorically. The Chanel suits give way to dark jeans and practical button-downs that still cost more than Sal makes in a week, but at least don't scream investment banker. Friday morning she arrives exactly at 7. Marcus notices but doesn't comment. She asks what he needs, and when he hands her a clipboard to catalog parts from the stripped chassis, she does it without complaint. Her iPad spreadsheet is color-coded, cross-referenced by weight and cost and delivery time. Marcus finds himself impressed, despite his better judgment. "You're organized. I didn't become CEO by being sloppy." The weekend passes with Natalie doing something she hasn't done in years: homework. Saturday afternoon, in her office overlooking Central Park, she pulls up every file on Project Sentinel. The previous prototype failed spectacularly during trials 12 tons when it should have been 9 fuel economy at 4 miles per gallon suspension that couldn't handle anything rougher than a parking lot. Marcus's design specs, hastily sketched on graph paper with notes in the margins, show 9.5 tons, 8 miles per gallon adaptive independent suspension that responds to terrain in real time. She runs the numbers 3 times. His design isn't just better, it's brilliant. Monday morning she brings coffee for the whole crew. Big Mike stares at the cup like it might explode. "You trying to bribe us, boss lady? I'm trying to learn how to be human." Marcus watches from across the shop, something unreadable in his expression. By Tuesday, Natalie is asking technical questions that aren't stupid. Marcus explains the modular armor concept, heavy plating where enemy fire concentrates, lightweight composite everywhere else, and she follows sketching notes suggesting a weight distribution algorithm she remembers from an MIT paper. "You actually read engineering journals?" "I read everything. Knowledge is leverage." Wednesday afternoon, Marcus gets a phone call. His face goes gray as he listens. When he hangs up, Natalie catches the tension radiating off him. "Everything okay, Emma's school? They want a parent-teacher conference Monday about behavioral issues. She's been getting into fights. Kids have been giving her grief about not having a mother." Marcus rubs his face with both hands. "She punched a boy yesterday. Gave him a bloody nose. I don't know how to handle this part. It's the first crack in his armor. Natalie sees the fear beneath the competence, the single father terrified he's failing the one thing that matters. She doesn't know what to say, so she says nothing, just nods and goes back to work. But something shifts inside her chest, a tightness she can't name. Thursday evening, Natalie stays late. They're testing the hydraulic system, checking for leaks, and it's tedious work that requires 2 sets of hands. Big Mike and Sal left at 6, Javier at 7. Now it's just Marcus under the frame and Natalie calling out pressure readings. 11 o'clock slides past. Midnight. The shop is quiet except for the hiss of hydraulics and their breathing. You should go home. This isn't your job. I'm the project manager. It is my job. They work in companionable silence. Then Marcus's voice drifts up from beneath the chassis. Why did you really walk out that night? At Bellacourt, Natalie's hand stills on the pressure gauge. Honest answer. Yeah, because I was terrified. Of what me? Of you being real. Everything in my world is a transaction calculated predictable. You walked in with your daughter and your cheap suit and your integrity. And I didn't know what to do with that, so I defaulted to what I know: cruelty. And now I think I was an idiot. Their eyes meet across the shop floor, her standing by the gauges, him sliding out on the creeper. The moment stretches heavy with something neither of them is ready to name. Marcus breaks it first. We should finish this circuit. Friday afternoon, Emma arrives after school. Natalie is still there, having worked through lunch troubleshooting an electrical short. Emma hesitates in the doorway, half hiding behind Marcus. Natalie kneels down to Emma's eye level, remembering how small the world looks from that height. Hi, Emma. I owe you an apology. I was very rude to you at the restaurant. I'm sorry. You made Daddy sad. I know. I made myself sad, too. Can we start over? Emma considers this with the seriousness of a federal judge. What's your name, Natalie? Okay, Miss Natalie. Do you want to see my drawing? It's a tank with flowers on it. I'd love to see it. Marcus watches from across the shop, and when Emma runs to get her backpack, he mouths 2 words. Thank you. The following Monday, a black Mercedes S-Class pulls into the lot. Graham Pierce steps out looking like a predator who smells blood in the water. Big Mike tenses hand, moving toward a wrench. Marcus straightens from the engine bay, wiping his hands on a rag. Pierce walks in without invitation. Mr. Cole, still slumming it with the Bennetts. I see. What do you want, Pierce? Just checking in. My offer still stands better now, actually. $500,000 signing bonus. $600,000 salary. I've sweetened the deal because I respect persistence even when it's misguided. Natalie steps into view from behind the Humvee. Hello, Graham. Trespassing now public accommodation. Pierce smiles his shark smile. Besides, I'm here on a mercy mission, trying to save Mr. Cole from making a terrible mistake. He's already made his decision. Natalie's voice could cut glass. Decisions can be unmade. Pierce turns back to Marcus. The Sentinel contract is a dead end, Cole. Bennett Industries is hemorrhaging talent. Their stock's been flat for 2 years. Natalie here is desperately trying to prove she's not just her father's princess playing CEO. You're a prop in her redemption arc. That's enough. Marcus's voice drops to something dangerous. Is it Pierce leans against a workbench, casual malice in every line? Because from where I'm standing, you're a talented engineer being used by a spoiled rich girl who wouldn't know real work if it ran her over. How long do you think she'll keep pretending to care about grease and metal once the contract is signed? She'll go back to her penthouse and you'll go back to being nobody. Marcus takes a step forward. Pierce takes a step back. You need to leave, now. Or what? You'll assault me? Pierce pulls out his phone. I'd love to add that to my lawsuit after you lose the contract. Natalie moves between them. You really want to play this game, Graham? Because I have lawyers who eat men like you for breakfast and bill by the quarter hour. Now get out of our shop before I have you escorted off the property. Our shop. Pierce laughs. Listen to yourself, Natalie. You've been playing mechanic for 2 weeks and you think you belong here? These men tolerate you because your daddy's paying the bills. The second the money stops, they'll forget you existed. Natalie's jaw tightens, but before she can respond, Big Mike steps forward. With respect, Mr. Pierce, the boss lady's earned her place. She spent 36 hours straight checking bolts last week when we found sabotage. She's bled for this project same as the rest of us, so maybe you should listen when she tells you to get lost. Pierce's smile falters. Sabotage. What? Sabotage. Marcus and Natalie exchange a glance. Too much said. Nothing that concerns you. Marcus crosses his arms. Now leave or I'm calling the police for trespassing. Pierce straightens his tie, recovering his composure. You're making a mistake, all of you. When Bennett loses this contract, there won't be jobs for any of you. But Pierce Defense takes care of its people. Remember that when you're filing for unemployment. He walks out. The Mercedes kicks up dust as it speeds away. 36 hours. Marcus looks at Natalie. What's he talking about? I was going to tell you. Natalie pulls her tablet from her bag, opening a file. I came in Sunday night to run some diagnostics. Found anomalies in the torque readings. When I checked manually, I found 47 bolts that had been deliberately loosened. Not enough to fail immediately, but enough to fail catastrophically during high-speed trials. Marcus goes very still. Show me. They spend the next 3 hours going over every inch of the chassis. The sabotage is professional, subtle, precise design to look like accidents under stress. Brake line crimped just enough to weaken it. Electrical connections severed halfway. Sensor calibrations off by millimeters. This would have killed us. Marcus sits back on his heels, face pale. During the Nevada trials, the first hairpin turn at 60 miles an hour, the brakes would have failed. We would have gone off the edge. I know. Why didn't you tell me Sunday? Natalie meets his eyes. Because I wanted to be sure before I accused a defense contractor of attempted murder. And because I knew you'd want to report it, which would delay the trials, which would forfeit the contract. So you just what? Fixed it yourself. I cataloged every issue, cross-referenced the failure points, and ordered replacement parts with expedited shipping. They arrived this morning. I was going to walk you through it after lunch. Marcus stares at her like he's seeing her for the first time. You could have walked away. Told your father the project was compromised. Protected yourself. And let Pierce win. Not a chance. That afternoon they work side by side, replacing every compromised component. Natalie's hands get dirty in ways they never have: oil under her fingernails, grease on her palms, metal shavings embedded in her skin. She doesn't complain, doesn't check her phone, just works. Around 6, Emma arrives with Mrs. Rodriguez, the neighbor who watches her after school. She's carrying a plastic container. Daddy, Mrs. Rodriguez made empanadas. She said you need to eat. Marcus straightens, wincing at the stiffness in his back. Tell Mrs. Rodriguez she's a saint. Emma looks at Natalie. There's an extra one for Miss Natalie if she's still here. Something cracks in Natalie's chest. I'm still here, sweetie. Thank you. They eat sitting on the floor of the shop, backs against the Humvee tires passing around the container. Big Mike and Sal drift over. Javier finishes soldering and joins them. It's the most informal meal Natalie's had in a decade, and also the best. This is what he meant. The thought surfaces unbidden. When Marcus said people break and machines make sense. This connection, this trust is what breaks. And it's terrifying because you can't control it with spreadsheets or leverage or money. The week blurs into a rhythm. Natalie arrives at 7, leaves at 8 or 9 at night. Tuesday, they install the new suspension system. Wednesday, they calibrate the sensors. Thursday, they run initial stress tests. The frame holds beautifully Marcus's design, proving itself in metal and torque. Friday evening, they're testing the electrical system when Natalie's phone rings. Her father. I heard about the sabotage. How bad? But we caught it. We're fixing it. Good. The general's voice carries an odd note. And how are you doing? I'm fine, Dad. That's not what I asked. Natalie looks across the shop at Marcus, who's explaining something to Javier with animated hand gestures, grease streaking his arms. I'm learning a lot. That's what I hoped. The general pauses. He's a good man, Natalie. Maybe the best I've ever known. Don't let him get away. The line goes dead before she can respond. Saturday morning. Natalie does something she hasn't done in 5 years. She doesn't go to the office. Instead, she shows up at the shop in actual work boots she bought at a hardware store in Queens, feeling absurdly proud of the purchase. Marcus raises an eyebrow when he sees them. What, I'm adapting to my environment. Never thought I'd see Natalie Bennett in steel toes. There's a lot you haven't seen. They work through the weekend, the prototype taking shape hour by hour. Sunday afternoon, they mount the armor plating the modular panels Marcus designed that can be swapped based on mission profile. It's beautiful in its brutal efficiency. Monday arrives with the parent-teacher conference Marcus has been dreading. Natalie offers to come along. You don't have to do that. I know. But maybe 2 of us advocating for Emma is better than 1. The conference is brutal. Mrs. Patterson. Emma's teacher sits across from them in a too-small chair designed for 7-year-olds, explaining that Emma has become aggressive, withdrawn, defiant. She's fighting with classmates, refusing to participate in group activities. Her grades are slipping. She needs counseling. Mrs. Patterson folds her hands. Perhaps a child psychologist who specializes in grief and single-parent households. Marcus's jaw works. She's not grieving. Her mother left when she was 2. She doesn't remember her. Then perhaps she's grieving the idea of a mother. The teacher's tone is gentle but firm. The other children have mothers. Emma is aware of the absence. I'm doing everything I can. Marcus's voice cracks slightly. I'm there for her. I make breakfast. I pack her lunch. I help with homework. I read to her every night. I'm not questioning your dedication, Mr. Cole. But perhaps Emma needs people to stop telling her she's broken. Natalie surprises herself by speaking. She's a 7-year-old girl processing the fact that the world isn't fair. That's not pathology. That's intelligence. Mrs. Patterson blinks. I'm sorry, you are a family friend. Natalie softens her tone. Look, I understand you're concerned, but maybe before we label a child as troubled, we address why the other children think it's acceptable to bully someone for not having a mother. Maybe the problem isn't Emma. Maybe it's that she's the only one responding appropriately to cruelty. The teacher opens her mouth, closes it, opens it again. I'll speak to the other students about inclusive behavior. Thank you. Outside in the parking lot, Marcus leans against his truck. That was thank you. You didn't have to defend her like that. Yes, I did. Natalie looks at him. Because she's right to be angry. The world is unfair. And people who tell you to smile through unfairness are usually the ones benefiting from it. Is that what you learned in business school? That's what I learned being my father's daughter in a world that wanted me to be decorative instead of competent. Marcus looks at her for a long moment. You're not what I expected. Neither are you. Tuesday morning brings a crisis. The differential housing that Marcus ordered from Detroit Precision Manufacturing arrives damaged, cracked during shipping. Without it, the prototype can't handle the torque load. The trials are 3 weeks away. I can machine a replacement. Marcus examines the broken part. But it'll take 10 days minimum. We don't have 10 days. What if we bypass the manufacturer? Natalie pulls out her phone. I know a fabrication shop in Pennsylvania that owes Bennett Industries a favor. They specialize in custom military-grade components. Can they turn it around in a week? If I pay triple for priority production and overnight shipping? Yes. That's going to cost, I don't care what it costs. We need that part. She makes the call. $12,000 for the part, $8,000 for expedited production, $6,000 for overnight freight. $26,000 to solve a problem that shouldn't exist. Marcus looks ill. I can't let you spend that much on... You're not letting me do anything. This is my decision. We're too close to fail over a shipping accident. The part arrives Thursday afternoon. By Friday, they've installed it, tested it, and confirmed the differential can handle loads 20% higher than spec. Marcus runs the numbers 3 times to be sure. Saturday, Natalie brings bagels and cream cheese for breakfast. Sunday, they work through until midnight, every system green, every test passed. The prototype is ready. Monday morning, Marcus stands back and looks at what they've built. The Sentinel isn't pretty, all function, no flash, but it's a machine that will bring people home alive. We did it. Natalie stands beside him, both of them covered in a week's worth of grime and exhaustion. We did. He looks at her, really looks at her. When did you stop being the woman who walked out of Bellecourt? I think Natalie considers this. I think I stopped being her when I realized that woman was lonely and miserable and cruel because she thought power and money could fill the parts of her that were empty. And they can't. What fills them? This. She gestures at the shop, at the team, at Emma's drawings taped to the wall. Being part of something that matters. Being around people who see you as human instead of a balance sheet. Marcus reaches out and his hand, calloused and scarred and strong, covers hers on the workbench. I'm glad you stayed. I'm glad you let me. The moment breaks when Big Mike walks in with coffee and a grin. Lovebirds done making eyes. We got a prototype to load for Nevada. They spend Tuesday preparing for transport. The Sentinel gets loaded onto a flatbed trailer secured with chains and padding. Wednesday they convoy to Nevada, Marcus driving the truck with the prototype, Natalie following in her Bentley with Big Mike as co-pilot, Sal and Javier bringing tools and spare parts in the van. The drive takes 16 hours through Pennsylvania, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Nebraska, Colorado, Utah. They stop at a truck stop in Kansas for dinner, greasy burgers and watery coffee, and the kind of exhausted silence that comes from people who've spent 3 weeks building something together. In Nevada, they check into a motel outside the proving grounds. The military trials are Thursday morning. Natalie lies in bed in a room that smells like cigarettes and regrets staring at the ceiling, too wired to sleep. Her phone buzzes. A text from Marcus. Can't sleep either. Want to see something. She finds him outside by the pool, empty cracked concrete, no water, staring at the desert stars. It's beautiful out here, away from the city lights. Marcus doesn't look at her. Tomorrow's going to be rough. The course is designed to break vehicles. 20% failure rate on average. But our design is better. Design doesn't matter if execution fails, if I missed something, if there's a weak point I didn't account for. He stops, jaw working. 4 men died because I didn't see the ambush coming. I've spent 13 years trying to make up for that. If this fails, if someone gets hurt because I was wrong again, you weren't wrong then, and you're not wrong now. Natalie moves closer. You did everything you could in that desert, and you've done everything you can here. Sometimes that has to be enough. What if it's not? Then we fail together, and we figure out what comes next. But Marcus? She waits until he looks at her. You're not alone in this anymore. You have a team. You have me. Whatever happens tomorrow, you don't carry it alone. His hand finds hers in the darkness. They stand like that, watching the stars wheel overhead, neither of them speaking, neither of them needing to. Thursday morning breaks brutal and bright. The Nevada proving grounds sprawl across 100 square miles of hostile terrain. The military has erected a grandstand for the brass. Natalie spots her father in the center, flanked by Pentagon officials. General Bennett looks stoic, but his hands grip his knees, white-knuckled. 2 vehicles sit at the starting line. On the left, the Pierce Vindicator, sleek and black and expensive, looking like it drove off a movie set. Graham Pierce stands beside it in a linen suit, shaking hands with generals confident. On the right, the Bennett Sentinel. Gray, ugly, dented from transport. Marcus stands beside it in coveralls, looking like he just crawled out from underneath. The course is 15 miles of hell. Rock crawls, sand dunes, water crossings, high-speed tactical sections, hairpin turns, designed to test stability at speed. 2 hours to complete. Lowest time wins, but completion is all that really matters. You don't have to ride along. Marcus checks Natalie's flight suit, mandatory for all passengers during live trials. It's going to be rough. I'm the project manager. If this thing falls apart, I want to be there to yell at you. Marcus laughs through the comm system in her helmet. Copy that, boss. The flare goes up, green smoke. They launch. The Sentinel roars not a purr but a war cry. The torque pins Natalie against her seat. They tear off the line dust billowing behind them. The Vindicator is faster on the straightaway, shooting ahead, kicking up a blinding cloud of sand. Marcus doesn't chase. He's patient, watching, waiting for the terrain to change. Rock crawl section. The Vindicator hits it hard. Suspension too stiff. chassis bouncing violently. The Pierce driver struggles to find grip. The Sentinel, with Marcus's adaptive suspension, flows over the boulders like water finding level. Each wheel responds independently, the frame staying remarkably stable. We're gaining. They pass the Vindicator on the descent, Marcus threading between rocks that would tear an axle off a normal vehicle. Now the sand dunes. 40-degree slopes, loose surface, no traction. The Sentinel climbs engine screaming, Marcus shifting weight distribution through controls Natalie doesn't understand. They crest the first dune and launch airborne for 3 full seconds, landing hard but stable. Behind them, the Vindicator crests and lands nose first, front suspension compressing too far. The driver recovers but loses time. Water crossing next. 4 feet deep, muddy bottom current trying to sweep them sideways. Marcus guns it, plowing through water up over the hood. The engine doesn't stutter. The sealed compartments hold. They explode out, the far side spray arcing in the sun. High-speed tactical section. The moment Natalie's been dreading. Hold on. This is where it gets interesting. The speedometer climbs. 60, 70, 80 miles per hour over terrain that looks like the surface of Mars. The cabin shakes, rattling Natalie's teeth, but the Sentinel holds Marcus's design, proving itself in metal and momentum. The Vindicator surges up beside them. The Pierce driver looks over, then swerves. He's trying to clip us. I see him. This is the Ghost now. This is the soldier who drove through ambushes, who calculated angles of fire while insurgents tried to kill him. The Vindicator slams into their side. Metal shrieks. The impact jolts Natalie's neck, but the heavy armor plating Marcus insisted on holds firm. He's pushing us toward the ravine. To their right, the track drops off into a dry riverbed, a 20-foot drop to rocks and death. Marcus doesn't steer away. He steers into the Vindicator using the Sentinel's weight, 9.5 tons of purpose-built machinery. The Vindicator wobbles suspension, protesting. He's got a weak tie rod. Marcus's voice is eerily calm. I saw it on the line. Too thin for this weight class. Marcus slams them into the Vindicator again. Harder, the shriek of metal on metal. Then crack. The Vindicator's front right wheel buckles, the tie rod shearing clean. The vehicle spins out of control, doing a full 360 before plowing into a sandbank, steam erupting from the engine. Target neutralized. Marcus guns the engine. They roar across the finish line, dust and glory in their wake, 1 minute 40 seconds ahead of target time. They drift to a stop in front of the grandstand. Silence. Absolute. Then the military officials erupt into applause. Natalie unbuckles with shaking hands. She looks at Marcus, sweaty and dusty and bleeding slightly where his helmet rubbed his healing forehead. He looks back and grins, wide, genuine, victorious. Not bad for a mechanic, huh? Not bad at all. They climb out. The heat hits like a physical force, but it feels like triumph. Graham Pierce is running toward the judges, screaming about illegal maneuvers and attempted murder. Natalie ignores him. General Thomas Bennett walks down from the stand. He ignores Pierce completely, walks straight to the battered, dusty Sentinel, looks at the vehicle for a long moment. Then he looks at his daughter. It held. It fought. Natalie wipes dust from her face. Marcus built a fighter. The general turns to Marcus. Marcus stands at attention, muscle memory taking over. Mr. Cole, the Pentagon is already asking for specs. They want 5,000 units, full production contract. It's a good truck, sir. Marcus's voice is humble, deflecting. It's not just the truck. The general's voice cracks, barely perceptible. And then it happens. General Thomas Bennett, the Iron General, the man who commanded divisions who never showed weakness, steps back, squares his shoulders, looks Marcus Cole in the eye, not as a superior to a subordinate, but as a man to the person who saved his life. He salutes, slow, crisp, absolute respect. The entire grandstand goes silent. The officers see the general, realize who Marcus must be. The rumor of the Ghost has circulated in military circles for years, classified, but whispered. One by one the colonels and majors stand. One by one they salute too. Marcus stands, frozen eyes shimmering. Slowly he raises his hand and returns the salute, 13 years of refusing recognition finally accepted. Natalie watches tears streaming down her face, cutting tracks through the dust. She sees the man in the dirty coveralls, the single father, the mechanic. And she realizes that all her billions, all her towers and power mean nothing compared to this moment. The applause dies down. Graham Pierce marches up flanked by lawyers. This is a farce. He rammed my driver. This is assault. I'm suing Bennett Industries. I'm suing Cole. I'll bury you both. You're not suing anyone, Graham. Natalie steps forward and the adrenaline is fading, replaced by the cold steel of the CEO who doesn't lose. Excuse me, Natalie pulls a small device from her pocket, a black box with a magnet attached. This is a remote frequency jammer. It interferes with electronic braking systems. I found it attached to our chassis with a magnet right after the race. She holds it up. I'm guessing if we trace the serial number, it links back to a shell company you own. Want to bet Pierce's face goes white. That's you can't prove I'm Natalie Bennett. I can buy the factory that made this subpoena shipping logs and have you indicted for industrial sabotage and attempted murder before lunch. Or, she tilts her head, you can drop your bid, resign from Pierce Defense and admit the better machine won. Pierce looks at the general, at Marcus, at the jammer, turns and walks away without another word, shoulders hunched, beaten. Marcus looks at Natalie, impressed. You had a jammer? Natalie opens her hand, showing him. It's just a relay switch from our glove box. I bluffed. Marcus throws his head back and laughs, the sound rich and deep and free. You're terrifying. I prefer formidable. She takes his arm. Come on, partner. Let's go get a burger. I know a place in Vegas. Cheap, greasy, 0 Michelin stars. Lead the way, soldier. The diner off the Vegas Strip serves coffee that tastes like burnt ambition and burgers that drip grease onto wax paper. Marcus, Natalie, Big Mike, Sal, and Javier cram into a booth designed for 4, celebrating with food that costs less than the gas it took to drive here. The fluorescent lights buzz overhead and nobody cares that Natalie Bennett, net worth $4.2 billion, is eating a $5 cheeseburger with her hands. Big Mike raises his coffee mug. To the boss lady. Welcome to the team. Natalie's throat tightens unexpectedly. To the team that taught me what real work looks like. They eat and laugh and tell stories about the close calls during the build. Sal describes the time Natalie accidentally welded her sleeve to a bracket. Javier recounts when she cursed in 3 languages after shocking herself on a loose wire. Marcus stays quiet, smiling, watching Natalie fit into his world with an ease that still surprises him. Around 9, they head back to the motel. Big Mike, Sal, and Javier peel off to their rooms, exhausted and victorious. Marcus walks Natalie to her door, hands in pockets, suddenly awkward now that the adrenaline has faded. Hell of a day, hell of a month. She leans against the doorframe. Thank you for not giving up on me. When I showed up in that white suit acting like I owned the place. You did own the place, technically. Marcus grins. You just didn't know what to do with it yet. And now you're dangerous. In the best way. The silence stretches comfortable and charged. Marcus shifts his weight, opens his mouth, closes it. I should let you sleep. Long drive back tomorrow. Marcus. Wait. He stops, turns. Natalie steps closer, close enough to see the dust still caught in his hair, the exhaustion around his eyes, the smile lines that weren't there a month ago. I need to say something. She's terrified more than she's ever been in a boardroom. I'm sorry. For Bellecourt. For how I treated you and Emma. I was cruel, and you didn't deserve it. You already apologized to Emma. That's what mattered. But I hurt you too. I saw it in your eyes that night. Marcus looks at her for a long moment. Yeah, you did. But I've been hurt worse. And you've changed. Have I? The Natalie I met at Bellecourt wouldn't have spent 36 hours in a shop checking bolts. She wouldn't have ridden into a Nevada desert at 80 miles per hour. She wouldn't have cared. I care now. Natalie's voice drops. About the project. About the team. About... She stops. Can't say it. Not yet. Too raw. Too real. About you, Marcus. I care about you. The words hang in the desert air between them. Marcus doesn't move. Doesn't speak. just looks at her like he's trying to read a language he's forgotten. Natalie, I'm not your world. I fix cars. I live in Queens. Emma's tuition alone costs more than I make in 6 months. What happens when the contract is done and you go back to boardrooms and I go back to the shop? We're from different planets. Then maybe I need to change planets. She steps closer. Marcus's hand comes up, cupping her face, thumb brushing her cheek. His palm is rough, scarred, warm. You sure about this? I've never been more sure about anything in my life. He kisses her, slow, careful, like she might break. But Natalie doesn't break. She leans in, hands fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. The kiss tastes like coffee and possibility and everything she didn't know she was missing. When they break apart, Marcus rests his forehead against hers. What happens next? We finish the contract. We build 5,000 trucks. We save lives. And after Natalie's voice is steady after we figure it out. Together. Together. I like that. 6 months later, Bellacourt looks exactly the same. The same golden lighting, the same hushed conversations, the same weight of old money and older wine. But everything else is different. Natalie walks in wearing a soft cream dress, elegant without armor. Marcus beside her in a charcoal suit, tailored this time but still wearing the scuffed work boots he refuses to give up. They're my connection to the ground. She'd laughed. Don't ever change them. Between them, swinging both their arms, is Emma. She's wearing what appears to be a princess dress from a costume shop, complete with a plastic tiara that catches the light. The restaurant's usual clientele, senators, CEOs, people who think $1,000 bottle of wine is appropriate for Tuesday, stare openly. Henri doesn't hesitate this time. Miss Bennet, Mr. Cole, and Princess Emma, your table is ready. He leads them to the same corner table, the one where this started, where Natalie walked out laughing, where Marcus sat with grease under his fingernails and a 7-year-old girl coloring dinosaurs. I still can't believe you made us come back here. Marcus pulls out Natalie's chair. The water costs more than my first car. It's symbolic. Natalie sits watching Emma immediately pull out crayons. We're rewriting the memory. Emma announces loudly, I'm drawing a tank with flowers on it. A woman at the next table, dripping diamonds and disdain, glances over. 6 months ago, Natalie would have glared her into submission. Tonight, she just winks. It's a peace tank. They order, they eat, they laugh. Natalie listens as Marcus talks about the shop now officially renamed Cole Bennett Advanced Fabrication. They've hired 15 new employees. The Sentinel contract is in full production, 200 units per month rolling out to military bases across the country. Big Mike finally adopted that stray cat that kept hanging around the shop. The one that hissed at everyone, he named it Sergeant. Says it reminds him of his old drill instructor. Natalie laughs, genuine and unguarded. Emma shows her the drawing, a tank sprouting daisies from the turret, a rainbow overhead. It's beautiful, sweetie. Midway through the meal, General Thomas Bennett walks through the restaurant. He's not dining here, heading to a private function in the back room, but when he sees them, he stops. The entire restaurant seems to hold its breath. The general walks over, placing a hand on Marcus's shoulder. Report, Mr. Cole. All systems go, sir. Though managing 2 strong-willed Bennett women is proving harder than combat. The general laughs, the sound booming through the quiet space. He kisses Natalie's cheek. You look happy, Vic. Finally. I am Dad. Good. Carry on. As he walks away, Marcus turns to Natalie. His expression shifts, nervous energy replacing the easy confidence. So there's something I wanted to ask you. Okay. Marcus reaches into his pocket, pulling out a small box, velvet worn at the edges with a tiny smudge of grease on one corner. Natalie's heart stops. Natalie Bennett. I'm not a rich man. I can't give you a diamond the size of a skating rink. I can't give you a private island or a yacht or any of the things people in your tax bracket expect. He opens the box. Inside is a ring, simple and unadorned. Not gold, not silver. A dark matte gray that catches the light in subtle ways. This is titanium alloy, a shaving from the axle of the Sentinel prototype, the one that saved us in Nevada. I machined it myself on the lathe in the shop. It's not fancy, but it's unbreakable. It can withstand heat pressure impact. It endures. Marcus looks into her eyes and his voice drops. That's what I want to offer you. Not a transaction, not a merger. Something that endures. Will you take a gamble on a mechanic? Tears stream down Natalie's face, ruining the makeup she spent an hour perfecting. She doesn't care. Doesn't care that people are watching, that Henri is probably scandalized, that her mascara is creating dark tracks down her cheeks. I don't want a diamond. Her voice breaks. I want the man who builds things that last. Marcus slides the ring onto her finger. It fits perfectly, the metal warm from his pocket. Natalie looks at it. Industrial, unglamorous, the most beautiful thing she's ever owned. Emma looks up from her drawing. Does this mean Marcus is staying forever? Forever, sweetie? Natalie pulls Emma into a hug, the little girl squealing with delight. Marcus leans across the table and kisses Natalie. The kiss tastes like expensive wine and cheap promises kept, like everything she thought she wanted and everything she actually needed. Henri, watching from across the restaurant, wipes a tear from his eye. He signals the waiter. Champagne, the vintage reserve, on the house. 1 year later, Bennett Industries looks different. The temperature in the boardroom is 72 degrees warmer, more human. Natalie's office has photographs now. Marcus and Emma at Coney Island, the team standing in front of the first production Sentinel, her father in full dress uniform at the retirement ceremony. Gerald Hutchins presents a quarterly report proposing an aggressive acquisition strategy. The target company is struggling, and Bennett Industries could acquire them for 30% below market value. What's the human cost? Gerald. Who loses their job? Well, approximately 200 positions would be redundant after integration. Then, no. Natalie closes her tablet. We find another way. We don't build empires on broken families anymore. Propose a partnership structure instead. We provide capital and expertise, they maintain autonomy and workforce. Come back to me with those numbers. The board exchanges glances. This, Natalie, the one who considers people before profit, still surprises them. But they've seen the results. Employee retention up. Productivity up. Stock price climbing steadily as Bennett Industries becomes known as a company that builds things that last. After the meeting, Natalie drives to Queens. The shop is unrecognizable from a year ago. Cole Bennett Advanced Fabrication now occupies 15,000 square feet. 40 employees work across 3 shifts. The sign out front is New Professional, but the corrugated metal siding remains. Marcus refused to change it. Authenticity can't be bought with a fresh coat of paint. Natalie parks next to Marcus's truck, the same beat-up F250 he's driven for a decade, refusing her offers to replace it. She walks in wearing jeans and a Bennett Industries polo shirt, steel-toed boots scuffed from actual use. Big Mike grins when he sees her. Boss lady. You here to steal our foreman, just borrowing him for lunch. Marcus slides out from under a Humvee, face smeared with grease, grinning. Give me 5 minutes to clean up. Take your time. I'll help Javi with that sensor array. She does. Natalie Bennett, CEO of a Fortune 500 company, spends 20 minutes troubleshooting an electrical short while Javier explains the problem. She suggests a bypass solution he hadn't considered. It works. You're getting good at this, boss lady. I had excellent teachers. Marcus emerges from the office, face scrubbed, wearing a clean shirt. They drive to the diner 3 blocks over their spot now, where the waitress knows their order before they sit down. How was the board meeting? Contentious, but productive. We're shifting strategy from hostile acquisitions to strategic partnerships. Gerald nearly had an aneurysm, but the numbers support it. Look at you changing corporate culture 1 meeting at a time. I learned from the best. Natalie steals a fry from his plate. Speaking of which, the Cole Veterans Rehabilitation Center is fully operational. We had our first graduating class last week. The center, Natalie's project, occupies the former Pierce Defense Systems factory. After Graham Pierce resigned in disgrace and the company collapsed, Natalie bought the property for pennies on the dollar. But instead of tearing it down or converting it to Bennett Industries use, she created something else. The Cole Veterans Rehabilitation Center offers free training to veterans in skilled trades: welding, fabrication, mechanics, electrical work. Marcus teaches a Saturday morning class on engine repair. Big Mike runs the welding program. Sal handles hydraulics. Javier teaches electronics. How many graduated? 16. Marcus's voice carries quiet pride. All 16 have job offers. 3 are joining us at the shop. 5 went to Detroit Precision Manufacturing. The rest scattered to shops and factories across the tri-state area. That's what matters. Not the bottom line, not the stock price. People coming home from war and finding purpose. You sound like a bleeding heart. I sound like someone who married a man who taught me that wealth isn't measured in dollars. Mrs. Cole. Still getting used to that. You better. I had it engraved on the titanium. They finish lunch and Marcus drives back to the shop. Natalie continues to her office in Manhattan for afternoon meetings. It's Tuesday, one of her 3 office days. Wednesday and Friday she works from Queens, handling conference calls from the small office in the shop, spreadsheets open, while the sound of pneumatic tools provides soundtrack. Her assistant Isabella still marvels at the transformation. A year ago you would have fired someone for breathing wrong. Now you're running a non-profit for veterans. People change, Isabella. Sometimes they just need the right reason. That evening, Natalie leaves the office at 6, unheard of a year ago. She drives to Queens to the modest 2-story house 3 blocks from the shop. Marcus bought it 8 years ago, stretching himself thin, desperate to give Emma a yard and a good school district. When Natalie moved in after the wedding, she offered to buy them something bigger. Marcus refused. This house has Emma's height marks on the kitchen door frame. It has memories. We're not leaving. So Natalie had the kitchen renovated, the roof repaired, the basement finished into a workshop where Marcus tinkers on weekends. But the height marks remain a pencil-line history of a little girl growing up. Emma runs to the door when Natalie arrives. Mom. I got an A on my science project. Mom. Emma started using it 3 months ago, tentative at first, testing if Natalie would accept it. Natalie had cried for an hour, overwhelmed by the gift of that single syllable. That's wonderful, sweetie. What was the project? Simple machines. I built a pulley system to lift heavy objects with minimal force. Dad helped with the engineering. Of course he did. Natalie hugs her tight. Show me. Emma drags her to the dining room table covered in string wood blocks and a small motor salvaged from an old toy. The pulley system is crude but functional, demonstrating mechanical advantage with hand-drawn force diagrams. This is brilliant, Emma. You're going to be an engineer, like Dad and you, exactly like us. Marcus emerges from the kitchen apron on, stirring something that smells incredible. Chicken and rice. His grandmother's recipe, the one thing he cooks better than anything Natalie's ever had at Bellacourt. They eat dinner as a family, something Natalie never had. Growing up, her father always deployed or working meals eaten alone with staff hovering. Now she sits at a scratched wooden table with mismatched chairs, listening to Emma talk about her day, watching Marcus smile at his daughter's enthusiasm, feeling whole in ways her penthouse never provided. After dinner, they help Emma with homework fractions, which she hates. Then bath time, then reading time. Natalie curls up on Emma's bed while Marcus reads from a book about a girl who builds a robot to help with chores. Emma falls asleep halfway through, head on Natalie's shoulder. They tuck her in, turning on the nightlight shaped like a star. In the hallway, Marcus pulls Natalie close. You're good at this, the family thing. I'm learning, from both of you. They retreat to the living room. Marcus has a beer. Natalie has wine. They sit on the couch watching something mindless on TV, her feet in his lap, his hand absently rubbing her ankle. I need to tell you something. Natalie mutes the television. The board approved my proposal for a new initiative. What kind of initiative? Technical scholarship program. Full tuition, room and board for students from low-income families pursuing engineering degrees. Preference given to children of single parents and veterans. Marcus sets down his beer. Natalie, we're calling it the Emma Cole Scholarship. First class starts next fall. 20 students. You didn't have to. Yes, I did. Because somewhere right now there's a kid like Emma, brilliant and curious, whose parent is working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. And that kid deserves a chance. The same chance your father gave you when he taught you about engines in that garage in Brooklyn. Marcus pulls her into his arms, face buried in her hair. I love you. I love you too. 6 months later, spring arrives with the kind of warmth that makes New York almost tolerable. Natalie stands in the Bennett Industries lobby greeting the inaugural Emma Cole Scholars. 20 students ages 18 to 22, backgrounds spanning the economic spectrum. Foster kids, children of military families, first-generation Americans, kids who fix cars to help their parents, who code in their spare time, who build things because they can't afford to buy them. She sees Marcus in their eyes, that hunger to create, to solve, to make the world work better. Welcome to Bennett Industries. You're not here because someone did you a favor. You're here because you earned it. And over the next 4 years, we're going to invest in you because we believe that talent is universal, but opportunity is not. They tour the facilities, meet engineers, shadow project managers. Natalie watches a girl from rural Pennsylvania examine a CAD workstation with the same wonder Natalie felt the first time she saw the shop floor in Queens. At lunch, Marcus arrives with Big Mike, their guest speakers, 2 men who prove that expertise comes from experience, not pedigree. I never went to college. Marcus addresses the scholarship recipients. Learned everything I know in a garage in Brooklyn from my father, who learned it from his father. But when Bennett Industries needed someone to design the Sentinel, they didn't care about my degree. They cared if I could solve the problem. And you're here because you can solve problems. Don't let anyone tell you you're less than, because you didn't grow up with money. Your perspective is your strength. After the event, Natalie walks Marcus to his truck. That was perfect. Those kids needed to hear it from someone who's been there. Marcus checks his phone, a text from Mrs. Rodriguez. Emma's dance recital starts in an hour. We better move. I promised her we'd be front row. They drive to the school auditorium, arriving just as the lights dim. Emma is in the third performance, a group dance to something contemporary that Natalie doesn't recognize. Emma spots them in the audience, face lighting up, waving so enthusiastically she nearly knocks over the girl next to her. She's going to be trouble when she's older. Marcus grins. She's trouble now. That's why we love her. After the recital, they take Emma for ice cream. She chatters about the performance, the girls in her class, the upcoming field trip to the Science Museum. She's confident now, the withdrawn 7-year-old from a year ago transformed into a vibrant 8-year-old who knows she's loved. Later, after Emma is asleep, Marcus and Natalie sit on the back porch. The yard is small, 40 feet square, but Emma has claimed it for a garden. Tomatoes grow in crooked rows. Herbs sprawl wild near the fence. It's chaotic and imperfect, and theirs. Do you ever regret it? Marcus asks quietly. Choosing this over the penthouse. The charity galas. The world you came from, Natalie considers. A year ago, her life was spreadsheets and hostile takeovers and nights alone with expensive wine. Now it's grease under her fingernails and school recitals and a titanium ring that doesn't match any jewelry she owns. I regret wasting 32 years before I figured out what actually matters, but regret this never, even though you spend Wednesdays elbow deep in hydraulic fluid, especially because of that. Her phone buzzes. Her father. She answers on speaker. How was the recital? Emma was magnificent. A star. You would have been proud. I'm always proud. The general's voice softens. Of both of you, I'm calling because the Pentagon just approved the next phase. They want Bennett Industries to bid on the armored transport contract. Bigger than Sentinel, higher profile. Who do they want as lead engineer? They requested Marcus by name. But I wanted to check with you both before committing. It's a 3-year project. Demanding. Natalie looks at Marcus. He shrugs, a small smile playing at his lips. Tell them we're interested. But we have conditions. Marcus works from Queens. No relocating. And the team comes with him. Big Mike Sal Javier. Non-negotiable. I'll relay that. Though I suspect they'll agree to anything to get Cole Bennett on the project. You've built quite a reputation. We've built it together. Natalie emphasizes the plural. Marcus did the engineering. I just handled the business side. You did more than that, Vic. You found what I couldn't give you, purpose beyond profit. Your mother would be proud. The mention of her mother gone since Natalie was 12, cancer taking her fast, creates a hollow ache. Dad, she would. And so am I. Talk soon. The line goes dead. Natalie sits in the quiet processing. Her mother died when Natalie was 12, leaving the general alone to raise a daughter while running a division. He'd done his best, but grief made him distant work his refuge from loss. Until Marcus pulled him from that burning Humvee, the general had been running from death. After he'd been running toward redemption, trying to save the men he couldn't save, trying to give his daughter what his wife would have wanted for her. You okay? Marcus's hand finds hers. Yeah. Just thinking about paths. How one moment can change everything. You mean when a grease monkey showed up at an overpriced restaurant with his daughter in terrible suit? I mean when a hero showed up and reminded me that money can't buy what matters. They sit in comfortable silence watching the stars appear over Queens. A year ago, Natalie couldn't have named 3 constellations. Now Marcus has taught her Orion, Cassiopeia, Ursa Major, pointing them out on clear nights the same way his father taught him. 3 months later, the Cole Veterans Rehabilitation Center holds its second graduation. 32 veterans this time, the program expanding faster than anticipated. Natalie stands at the podium looking out at men and women who served, who sacrificed, who came home to a country that struggled to give them purpose. You didn't fight for profit margins or quarterly earnings. You fought because you believed in something bigger than yourselves. And now you're building something bigger than yourselves. Every weld you make, every engine you rebuild, every system you install, you're creating infrastructure that keeps this country moving. That matters. You matter. Marcus hands out the certificates, shaking hands, remembering names, asking about families. Big Mike presents the top welding student with a bonus, a professional welding kit worth $2,000. You earned this. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. After the ceremony, a veteran approaches Natalie. Mid-30s Army infantry, 3 tours in the Middle East, etched in the scars on his hands. Ma'am, I just wanted to say thank you. I came back from deployment 2 years ago. Couldn't hold a job, couldn't sleep, couldn't figure out where I fit. This program, it gave me something to build again. I start at Cole Bennett next week. Fabrication team. What's your name, Rodriguez? Luis Rodriguez. Natalie shakes his hand. Welcome to the family, Luis. We're lucky to have you. She means it. Rodriguez represents the mission that drives Cole Bennett. Now not just profit, but purpose. Building machines that bring people home, training veterans who need direction, creating infrastructure for second chances. That evening, Natalie, Marcus, and Emma drive to Long Island for dinner with the general. He's retired fully now, spending time at a small house near the beach consulting for the Pentagon on contract negotiations, but mostly just enjoying quiet. Emma runs to him when they arrive, launching herself into his arms. Grandpa, I brought you my report card. Let's see it. The general examines the paper seriously. All A's except for 1 B+ in English. What happened there? I said the book was boring. Emma shrugs. Teacher disagreed. The general laughs. Honesty will get you far in life, Emma. Just pick your battles. They eat on the back deck, steaks. The general grilled corn on the Cobb salad from his small garden. The sunset paints the sky orange and purple, waves crashing in the distance. The Pentagon loves the preliminary designs for the transport contract. The general addresses Marcus. They're calling it the most innovative approach to armored logistics in 20 years. It's a good design, but it's untested. Won't know if it works until we build and trial it. That's what they said about Sentinel. And now those vehicles are saving lives in 3 continents. Trust your process, son. Son. The general started using that 6 months ago, the word slipping out naturally. Marcus had frozen the first time, eyes shimmering. Now he just nods, accepting the kinship. After dinner, the general pulls Natalie aside. Walk with me. They stroll along the beach, shoes off, sand cool between their toes. The general is quiet for a long time, just walking, listening to the waves. Your mother would be so proud of who you've become. Natalie's throat tightens. I wish she could see it. Emma. Marcus. The scholarship program. She sees it. The general's voice is certain. Wherever she is, she sees. And she's proud. Not because you're successful, but because you're happy. That's all she ever wanted, for you to find what makes you happy. I didn't think happiness was supposed to look like this. Natalie gestures vaguely. A mechanic shop in Queens, a scholarship program, titanium rings instead of diamonds. Happiness rarely looks like we expect. It looks like what fills the holes we didn't know we had. They turn back toward the house. Through the windows, Natalie can see Marcus and Emma building something with blocks at the kitchen table, both of them focused, laughing when the tower collapses. I spent 30 years trying to fill those holes with money and power. It never worked, because you were building walls, not bridges. The general puts his arm around her. Now you're building bridges. To Marcus, to Emma, to those veterans, to a future where success means more than a balance sheet. That's legacy, Natalie. That's what lasts. Inside, Emma has convinced Marcus to play a board game. Natalie joins them, sitting cross-legged on the floor, moving her piece around the board, arguing playfully about the rules. The general watches from his chair, a book in his lap, a smile on his face. This is what he fought for in those deserts. Not oil, not policy. This family around a table, laughter filling a house, a granddaughter who will grow up knowing she's loved. 2 years later, Bennett Industries unveils the new armored transport codenamed Fortress. The design phase took 18 months, prototype build another 6. Now they stand in a warehouse in New Jersey. Press and military officials assembled, watching as the massive vehicle rolls out for the first time. It's bigger than Sentinel, 12 tons of modular armor, amphibious capability, room for 8 personnel plus equipment. Marcus designed it with the same philosophy: bring people home alive. Natalie stands at the podium, Marcus beside her. They present together now, her handling the business case, him explaining the engineering. Traditional armored transports sacrifice mobility for protection. The Fortress achieves both through adaptive systems that respond to threat environments. In urban combat, additional plating deploys automatically. In open terrain, the vehicle sheds weight for speed. It thinks, adapts, survives. The demonstration is flawless. Fortress navigates an obstacle course, transitions from land to water, withstands simulated attacks. The Pentagon officials take notes. The press takes photos. Graham Pierce's successor at Pierce Defense Systems watches with barely concealed envy. After the presentation, a young reporter approaches Natalie. "Ms. Bennett, 3 years ago you were known as one of the most ruthless CEOs in the industry. Now you're building machines to save lives and running scholarship programs for disadvantaged students. What changed?" "I met someone who showed me that wealth isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in lives, improved bridges, built futures created. And I decided I wanted to be wealthy in ways that actually matter. That's quite a transformation." "It's not transformation, it's remembering. Remembering that businesses exist to serve people, not the other way around. My father taught me that. And a mechanic from Queens reminded me." The mechanic from Queens stands nearby, talking with Big Mike and Sal about modifications for the next prototype. He glances over, catches Natalie's eye, winks. Emma is 12 now, tall and confident, asking the engineers technical questions that make them pause and think. She wants to build bridges, she announced last month. Not metaphorical ones, actual suspension bridges that connect places and people. Natalie watches her. This girl who called her mom, who changed everything by existing, who represents every second chance Natalie never knew she needed. That evening they returned to Queens. The house has been expanded, a second-story addition for Emma's growing need for space, a workshop in the garage where Marcus tinkers and Emma learns. But the kitchen door frame still has the pencil marks, a history of growth measured in inches. Dinner is simple: pasta, salad, bread. Emma talks about the science fair project she's planning. Marcus discusses the Fortress refinements, with Natalie sketching ideas on a napkin. It's ordinary and perfect and everything. After Emma goes to bed, Natalie and Marcus sit on the back porch. The garden has grown. Emma's project expanded into raised beds, vegetables and flowers coexisting in organized chaos. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if I hadn't walked out of Bellacourt?" If I'd stayed for that dinner, we wouldn't be here. Marcus is pragmatic. You needed to walk out so you could see what you were walking away from. Sometimes you have to lose something to understand its value. I didn't lose you, though, despite trying really hard. You're persistent, I'll give you that. Natalie leans against him, his arm coming around her shoulders. Above them the stars wheel in their eternal patterns. Orion rising, Cassiopeia setting, the universe indifferent to human struggles, beautiful in its constancy. I love you, Marcus Cole, grease monkey, genius, hero, father, husband, all of it. I love you, Natalie Bennett, CEO, engineer, mother, partner, all of it. 5 years after that first disastrous dinner at Bellecourt, Natalie stands in the same boardroom where her father once staged his intervention. But this time she's not defending herself. She's announcing her succession plan. Effective in 6 months, I'll be transitioning to chairman of the board. Day-to-day operations will be handled by a new CEO, someone who understands that profit and purpose aren't mutually exclusive. The board murmurs. Gerald Hutchins, older now, gray at the temples, asks the obvious question. Who Sarah Chen? She's been running our sustainability division for 3 years. Increased efficiency by 40% while cutting waste by 60%. She understands that the future of manufacturing is responsible manufacturing, and she's hungry in ways I'm not anymore. You're only 37, Natalie. Surely you have more to build. I do. Just not here. Natalie closes her portfolio. I'm moving full-time to the Cole Veterans Rehabilitation Center. We're expanding to 5 locations across the country. That needs leadership, vision, focus. And honestly, I'm more excited about training the next generation of skilled workers than I am about quarterly earnings. The board approves unanimously. Even Gerald, who fought her on every policy change for 3 years, nods his support. You've turned this company into something your father would be proud of. It's time for you to build your own legacy. That evening, Natalie drives to the rehabilitation center in Queens. The expansion is nearly complete, triple the space, new equipment capacity for 100 students per session. Marcus is in the fabrication lab teaching advanced welding to a group of veterans who hang on his every word. She watches from the doorway this man who changed her life by being exactly who he was. No pretense, no performance, just competence and integrity and a commitment to building things that last. He sees her, excuses himself from the class, walks over, wiping his hands on a rag. How'd it go? They approved everything. Chen takes over in 6 months. I'm officially free. Free to do what this? Natalie gestures at the center. Full-time. No more splitting focus between the company and what actually matters. Marcus pulls her close, kissing her forehead. I'm proud of you. We built this together. All of it. They did. The center, the scholarship program, the family, the life that neither of them planned, but both of them needed. Emma arrives after school. She's 17 now, taking college-level courses, already accepted to MIT with a full scholarship from the Emma Cole program. She's building a robot for her senior project, something about assistive technology for disabled veterans. Mom, can you help me with the motor calibration, Mom? Still the most beautiful word Natalie knows. Of course, sweetie. Show me what you've got. They work side by side in the lab, mother and daughter building something together. Marcus watches from across the room, grease-stained and happy, surrounded by students who will carry forward what he taught them. This is wealth, not the billions in the bank, not the penthouse or the Bentley or the corner office. This, the grease and the laughter and the work that matters. The daughter who calls her mom, the husband who saw past the armor to the woman underneath, the veterans learning skills that will carry them forward, the bridges built where walls once stood. Natalie Bennett spent 32 years trying to be the richest woman in the room. Now holding a wrench while her daughter explains torque ratios, grease on her hands, and purpose in her heart, she finally understands she's wealthy in the only currency that truly matters. Outside, the sun sets over Queens. Inside, the sound of metal on metal, voices teaching and learning, laughter echoing through a space built for second chances. And in the center of it all, a family built from the wreckage of first impressions, proving that sometimes the poorest person in the room is the one who hasn't learned what wealth really means. The titanium ring on Natalie's finger catches the light: industrial, unbreakable, enduring, just like everything they built together.